Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Lodestar's Lending Leaders. We have a great guest today, a good friend, longtime client of ours, Alex Dunton, EVP of National Sales at Priority Title and Escrow. Alex, thanks so much for joining and letting me rope you into this after the last time we bumped into each other at a conference.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yep. So, you're in an interesting place of the industry, being with Priority Title, working together from the time you were one of the first 20 companies at 20 employees at Priority Title, and now you have over 400. So we'll like to get into that, but I always like to see how the heck someone gets into title insurance in the first place, right? It's such a niche part of the industry, niche industry to begin with. So I'm sure you didn't grow up wanting to be a title agent.
No, I think, I just celebrated 13 years in the industry and I have no idea how it happened. And
Yeah.
just, no, I was actually, I was in, straight out of school and got picked up by a local attorney and started learning the ropes there and moved to a national company. And that's kind of where I got my feet wet in the national side. So 13 years and it went so fast.
Yeah. Well, what's kept you around then?
Oh, it's very diverse. I enjoy the national side of it. I travel a ton, which is fantastic. I'm sure you are well aware, but working with loan officers is an absolute blast because they know how to have fun. Same with real estate agents. So it's a great industry.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one thing I enjoy about it. I think I'm only at about 9 to 10 years right now, so a little bit behind you, but just the fact that everything is affected by it. You can talk to anyone about what you do and about being in the housing market, the housing industry, real estate, and they'll have something to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not always positive, but
yeah.
Those are more fun conversations anyway.
Especially these days,
Yeah, that's true. Oh, we'll get into that, don't you worry. But at our time working together, as I mentioned, you were one of the first 20 folks at Priority Title. Now you have over 400, in an industry that's famously cyclical. How have you all, been able to achieve that growth?
Yeah, I being on the national sales side, I have to attribute it to sales, of course.
Yeah, sure. Obviously.
Of course. No, but it's a great team. I think putting the right people in the right positions, especially with operations, our teams can be out selling all day long, but it means nothing if the operations team can't hold up. And we just have a fantastic operations team here that can help support what the sales staff is out actually trying to sell.
And one thing, as a reformed former title agent salesperson myself, I always struggled with the differentiation in the space because you have thousands and thousands of people selling literally the exact same product.
That's it.
And
I say
that would drive me crazy. So how are you, what are those? And I think that applies for lenders as well, right? Like rates aren't that different. 30-year mortgages aren't that different. What is that pitch to kind of differentiate yourself?
I think it goes back to the beginning of our relationship. The technology, the tools that we have at our fingertips. We do sell the exact same product. Pricing is pretty much standardized state by state. There's not much difference. Service is the most important thing. Communication, picking up the phone, is something we preach to our teams every day, and that our teams preach. Communication, and then technology.
Yeah.
Instant quotes, things like that. Just really making it easier to use us.
Do you feel the questions you get from lenders or realtors now are different than what they were 10 years ago?
Oh, that's a funny one because I think 10 years ago, I knew absolutely nothing about what I did for a living, even in my first 3 years.
Hey, we can call it 5 years ago if you want to give yourself
exactly. Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. One of the big things was at the beginning of the pandemic. We started conversations 7, 8 years ago about doing remote online notarization and e-closings and stuff like that. And the conversations never really got very far. We had the technology, we had the ability. And then when the pandemic started, everybody got desperate. March, April, May of 2020, it was paramount that you had that ability, and everyone started looking at how they were going to do electronic notes. And it's funny that became such a strong conversation, and now we're right back to you know, I would say probably 10% of the transactions we do are just traditional, are electronic closings. Everything's back to traditional again. So
Just because the demand isn't there in the same way anymore.
yeah, I think the demand, and then the trying to change the end buyer of that mortgage,
Yeah.
their mentality to take the
Mhm.
wet signed piece of paper is a lot stronger.
Yeah, I think that's such a big factor in stopping any innovation in the industry is the fact that banks aren't really going to change what they're buying, what they're selling. People, talk about certain technologies like blockchain making title insurance completely obsolete.
Yeah,
And I always have the same answer. Like, when do you think a lender is going to not require a title insurance policy that they don't have to pay for? Like,
absolutely.
that's no, it's just not going to happen. So,
No, so many on the purchase side here. We do a lot of
mhm.
purchase business.
Yeah,
On the purchase side, I hear borrowers ask all the time. Do I need an owner's policy? Do I
yeah,
really need it? There's a reason why your bank requires you to purchase them a lender's policy.
right. Mhm. And what is your answer when you have someone like ask, "What is title insurance? Why do I need it?" How do you bridge that education gap?
Yeah, it's fairly often asked, especially on the real estate side,
Mhm.
on the traditional retail sales side.
Yeah.
But that's it. You should share some examples of horror stories, which
Mhm.
um, most people will never use it, never need to use it. But it's the what if.
Yeah.
With any insurance policy, it's the what if. There's some crazy
Right.
examples, but I'd rather not need it and have it. You know.
Right. Yeah. And it's tough because it's so different than types of insurance other people get. You get health insurance, you're going to get sick. You get life insurance, everyone's going to die, right? Like, you need the other types of insurance, are happen after the fact, opposed to, the elimination of all the risk up front.
Absolutely. Yeah. Looking backwards as opposed to looking
Yeah.
forward with a traditional insurance policy.
Do you feel that like education gap with the borrowers is a problem, or do you just feel like you're not necessarily interacting with the borrowers in the same way, whether letting the realtors, letting the lenders be the ones who have that first touch?
I think I spend a ton of time in a lot of our current loan officers, mortgage offices,
Yeah.
doing education, Q&As,
Mhm.
Title 101, what we actually do. And it's the same thing with our local teams. They spend a lot
Mhm.
of time with the real estate agents, really teaching them
Yeah.
what we do and how it works. I think
Mhm.
education in general from the beginning is super
Yeah.
important.
Mhm. I was listening into a first time home buyer workshop this week, actually, because I'm looking to buy a home for the first time, actually, despite being in the industry for so
Yeah.
long. So I thought it was just good for my wife and I to sit through it. And they were going through all the steps and got to title insurance. And they just said, all right, title insurance is the most boring part of buying a home. Like, this is a lender, like a loan officer and realtor. And like, that was like, yeah, that's all you need to know about it. You need it, but it's super boring. Yeah.
It's funny is we attend a lot of first time homebuyer seminars, and they'll typically give us 10 minutes at the end of the 4 hour session, and it's the last 10
Oh,
minutes.
jeez.
Breeze over. And
Yeah.
now,
Right. We're going to make sure you don't get your money stolen.
yeah, exactly.
So talking about the shift to the purchase market, it's, something that people are doing, either we're proactive about it or just super delayed now that it's here. How are you seeing lenders take advantage of that? How are you as a company looking at this new normal?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of us that have been in the industry for a while have seen the waves. I think I'm fortunate enough to be on my third wave or somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of something that you anticipate. It's never going to be unlimited supply of refis falling off of trees and
Mhm.
everyone's happy. But keeping those relationships strong and really just doing a good business in general. I think
Yeah.
as far as the purchase business,
Mhm.
we see a lot of repeat. We have a lot of really strong partnerships, and
Mhm.
again, a lot of the education is really important.
Mhm.
Spending the time to make sure that the client knows.
Mhm. And when you talked about educating realtors too, do you feel like there are things realtors don't understand about title insurance or the process in general? Like, how are you, approaching that? I think realtors get a bad rap. I believe, well, your wife's a realtor. I think you yourself might have a license too. I forget.
She's my wife's actually a broker, and
Okay.
I think still I've been in the industry 13 years. I think
Yeah.
she's close to 10.
Mhm.
And we teach each other something new all
Yeah.
the time.
Mhm.
It's funny, being in the industry, there's so many things from the
Yeah.
opposite side that I just don't know.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. There's a lot of things that she doesn't know.
Mhm.
So I think the education, spending a lot of time and building those
Yeah.
relationships, developing, and
Mhm.
having that an open forum, I think is really
Mhm.
important.
Yeah. It's I think it's you seem to understand the fact that title agents will never win that race to the consumer. I don't think every title agent realizes that necessarily. Unfortunately, just the way the process works, you're going to use the loan officer, you're going to use the realtor because you want to look at a house or you want to pre-qual, right? You don't care about title insurance until you have to. So it's that position where we're never first to the customer, but we're kind of the last line of defense.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
of if things don't go well with this, you're not going to close on this house. So it's kind of like all the risk, none of the glory in some ways.
Of course. Of course.
Mhm.
But when something goes wrong, it's always the title guy's fault.
Oh, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. No, definitely a little bit of the whipping boy there. So you had mentioned kind of the pre-COVID switch of people talking about e-closings and all of those things and being very popular for a while and going away. Do you feel like there are things that have changed in the last few years that aren't reverting now that we're kind of outside of the at least intense part of the pandemic?
Yeah. I mean, we're doing a lot more notary closings. Everything's in the office now.
Mhm.
The majority of loan officers that I work with are working from home or working
Yeah.
remotely. And, I don't know when that's going to change. And,
Yeah.
if everyone's ever going to have a conform back into the office or back working remote. I think it's just going to be a mixed bag for
Yeah.
now going forward.
I mean, us at Lodestar, I'm pretty much going to be permanently hybrid. I think
Yeah.
is kind of the way it's looking. Where we have an office here, it's effectively our sales and marketing office. Folks can come in, folks can work from home. It's yeah.
But at least you have the opportunity to do both. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
offices seem to have that
Mhm.
opportunity. With me, again, my wife being a real estate broker,
Mhm.
it's I prefer to come into the office because if we're both working at the same time, I pace around on my phone constantly. So if I'm talking, she's talking, it's not beneficial for our relationship. So
That was one thing that drove my wife crazy during the pandemic too, when we were at home just seeing like pacing and like I would do this thing if I was on a call. I would sit on a chair facing the window. I'd have a coffee in one hand and my phone in the other. And she's like, "What the hell do you think you're doing? How is this work?" So I noticed a fail-proof way of getting any couple upset at each other is ask them to impersonate the other person working.
oh yeah,
They're being around each other. It's like instant fight, guaranteed.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah.
So you had mentioned kind of leveraging technology and that being so important with priority title. Do you feel like lenders care more about that in the past? Like I personally think that there are a lot more sophisticated lenders, sophisticated questions than we ever really got before. I don't know if that part of the sales process has changed for you.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
absolutely. The street LO is never going to die.
Yeah.
I think having that personal touch is always going to be there and it's super important. But what people are competing with is the instant online everything.
Yep.
The big box groups and
Mhm.
somebody sitting in a call center just waiting for you to enter information into a online form and calling you immediately. So again, I think that's what's really affected change for technology and speed and ease of use. Being able to pull calculations and fees
Mhm.
instantly is so important.
Yeah. And then I think just getting those type of scenarios to someone as quickly as possible. And I think title is a very important part of that because you need to know how much money am I bringing to the table
Absolutely.
at the end.
Let's disclose everything up front.
Yeah. Mhm. And it's nice to see. In the past, I would see lenders just overestimating any disclosure they could just to cover themselves. And now I think you'd be really blasted by the competition for doing
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
because
and that's it. I mean, everyone's cutting costs, and you can get it instantly.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
having the most accurate possible fee set
Mhm.
is on all portions.
Yeah.
If you're quoting not just title, but knowing exactly what your
Mhm.
appraisal fee is going to be and everything else.
Mhm.
Let's get those disclosures out right away and
Yeah.
be able to quote it.
So it's really just the speed. And then is that speed still, how is that key throughout the process after title is ordered too? How much is that, getting demands faster, faster, faster? I want a title search in 20 minutes, opposed to 5 days or whatever it would be.
Of course. Yeah, I think, when I started off, there was 2-week lead time on,
Yeah.
if not more than that. Everything is going online.
Mhm.
In my first couple years in the industry, I remember, um, a lot of the counties going scanning like crazy and putting everything online. And,
Mhm.
maybe there'd be, 30, 40, 50, 100 counties nationwide. And, now that's, just growing exponentially.
Mhm.
So we can pull documents instantly, a lot faster in the majority of states and counties,
Mhm.
which, is a huge competitive edge. And again,
Mhm.
getting to the closing table faster.
Mhm. Um, So this question I'm really excited to ask you too, and then I just thought of one that I didn't prepare you for that I think you'll handle fine. But speaking of marketing, social media is becoming a super big part of realtor marketing, loan officer marketing, and your LinkedIn just makes me laugh. I know it's something probably people would call either cheesy, self-deprecating. Like you're just putting your face on a lot of like pop culture images that are just, I think, really funny, really clever. What led you to do that, and how have you seen it? Because I think it's been a few years now.
Yeah, yeah. So my wife actually, again, is
Mhm.
she coined herself the dad joke realtor here,
Mhm.
and she constantly is posting dad jokes, and she'll come into the office just crying, laughing about just some of the most obscure jokes, and I think her sense of humor
Mhm.
helped kind of drive that. But it's all good and fun. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't want to work with anybody in general that is
Mhm.
stressed out and uptight all the time and can't laugh about something.
Yeah.
So uh,
Well,
we're
I think
not
it
we're not
shows that you don't take yourself super seriously too.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
We might as well have fun with it.
Yeah.
We have enough stress in this
Yeah.
industry every
Yeah.
day.
What has kind of the reaction to that been? Like how have you leveraged kind of LinkedIn and social media, especially over the last few years, as more of a sales tool?
Yeah, I've actually had a few lenders, national lenders, that
Mhm.
I've connected with and been able to start working with,
Mhm.
just based on the silly
Mhm.
posts that I've made.
Mhm.
Again, if you have somebody coming into your office and working with your team once a month,
Yeah.
it might as well be fun. Have
Yeah.
fun with it. So I think that's it's helped a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's important that people just know you're a real person, right? I post a lot of things for the business, and the posts that always get more views are when it's tangentially personal related, right? Showing a picture I have in my office, showing me doing billing with my baby strapped to me was the biggest post I ever had. That was 30,000 views. Like that was
I
like,
love it.
yeah, like those were the types of things that resonated a lot more than, hey, look at what our company's doing. Look at this press release. Look at this type of stuff, which, there's a place for that on LinkedIn, but I think showing some sort and bit of your personality, I think is super important. So I'm always trying to think of how do I engage with this in a personal way, and also like how do you not make it feel like work? That like, oh man, I need 5 memes this week. What am I gonna do?
Yeah, we see we see flicking through LinkedIn. I think I have 8,000 connections or something like
Yeah,
that. And if I spend 20 minutes going through my news feed, and it's the same over and over again, and it loses
yeah,
its luster, I think, when you're posting something that 9 other people have posted,
right.
basically offering the same
Mhm.
service or connection. So having a little fun with it, and then mixing in some business on the side.
Yeah. So I know you have a lot of experience outside of the title industry too, whether it's been in hospitality, whether it's been in things that aren't title related. I think every time I talk to you, you talk to me about some side project, whiskey collecting, something like that. So when you're looking in recruiting, as Priority Title has done a ton of, how do you convince people outside the title industry to come work in this industry? Or what are there certain places that you look for to hire? Because I find when I'm trying to find someone in the industry, it's always a lot tougher than bringing someone in. But then you have that hurdle of what the heck's title insurance and how do you teach it to them?
Absolutely. And I think you can teach title insurance in
Yeah.
in a basic form in a 20-minute Q&A.
Yeah.
I think the thing that you cannot teach is customer service.
Mhm.
Generally, somebody caring,
Yeah.
going above and beyond that. We talk about that internally all of the time. You can tell on the other end when somebody's just not interested and doesn't want to be there and doesn't have that customer service mentality. And ultimately, we're all in a customer service industry, whether it's my direct customer being the loan officer or the real estate agent,
Mhm.
their customer being the buyer, the
Yeah.
person refinancing. So I think that's the most important thing. The service industry,
Mhm.
obviously, a lot of people in our industry who have that background
Mhm.
are the ideal candidate, especially they don't have any bad habits yet.
Yeah. No, that I think
Real
that
estate.
makes a lot of sense. I mean, when people ask us about our differentiator, customer service is always the first thing I say. You would mention that at the top of the call because you have a product that is such a commodity at the end of the day. So I think that's really important. And I think over time, vendors and lenders and other folks realize that's kind of the important thing that they realize. So the last question I had, I like to ask everyone, what gets you excited? What gets you out of bed in the morning to
Oh,
fire
man.
up and go sell some title insurance?
The chase ultimately,
Yeah.
the excitement of meeting somebody new.
Mhm.
I'm sure you and I have spent a lot of years together at different conventions, and I love it. I absolutely love walking around, hearing somebody's story, and finding out what their issue is and see if we have
Yeah.
a possible solution. But
Mhm.
ultimately, the people aspect is
Mhm.
the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, I really appreciate you. Everyone, follow Alex Dunton on LinkedIn for lots of funny memes. We'll try to share some, post some. And thanks so much for coming on. This was fun.
Thank you, Jim. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Man.
Sounds good.